I'm not playing badminton. I'm not on the swim team. Football is a physical sport. You're going to get hurt. That just comes with it. And it was just very unfortunate that I got hurt every season. It's a part of the game. It's a contact sport. I can only control what I can control. I can't control that. But we can control who's talking football with us today. And we are delighted that Dan Orlovsky and Marcus Spears are ready to go. And Swagoo, well, I'm going to start with you on this one because I thought those comments were really interesting. And I saw your notes. What do you think of what Tua said there?
Well, first of all, he's owning the fact that he's been injured, and he's going to have to. That's been the narrative and the conversation around Tua. But with that being said, it's not about being injured. It's about how frequent you've been injured. And we're not talking about being hurt. The difference is when you go into a training room in the NFL, they ask if you're hurt or if you're injured. Those are two totally different conversations. Tua obviously had the two high ankle sprain procedures, and then obviously this hip. So it's not about the fact that the game is badminton and people are going to get banged up. How frequently are you injured? How much time do you miss? How much is your play affected by the injuries that you're sustaining? That's the question that everybody has for Tua, and it goes back beyond even the high school based on some reports and people that I've talked to.
To be clear, the difference between injured and hurt is hurt, you can tough it out and play through. Injured, you need to sit and you need to get healthy. So, Dan, what do you make of it?
Yeah, Greeny, first of all, Tua is 100% correct. I mean, the contact or the football is a violent sport. And I remember DeMaurice Smith from the Players Association used to always come into our locker room and stress to players that football was 100% injury. Like we were all going to get hurt at some point. The chances were 100%. I focused on this part of the quote by Tua when he says, it's one of those things that I can't control. I can only control what I can control. And we often hear this phrase when it's tied to quarterbacks, live to fight another down, and we tie it to like a quarterback making a bad decision. So he instead of throwing the football away, he forces a ball and it becomes an interception. Well, I think Tua needs to apply that phrase to his game. And we make comps all the time with these players, and we've tied Tua to maybe like a Russell Wilson type and a Drew Brees type. The reality is Tua needs to control his style of play to be less Russell Wilson, because that's how he has got himself hurt, and more Drew Brees. Drew Brees controls what he can when it comes to his availability, making sure the ball gets out of his hands and doesn't kind of leave his body susceptible to a bunch of big hits. And that is part of the reason why he's played for such a long time and been so available. So I think this is a really good quote by Tua, saying, hey, yeah, injuries are going to be part of football, but I need to control, I need to grow and mature as a player in handling we talked about it with Carson Wentz last year, refining your game rather than changing your game. And he did that through the regular season. And that's something Tua needs to grow on.
I think the part of the quote to which I took umbrage was I thought the downplaying of the toughness of those of us who play badminton. But let's put that aside for just a moment. And Marcus, let me ask you the question this way, because on Friday, we were sitting here, Louis Riddick was right where you are, at least on my screen, and he was talking about the comments from Trent Dilfer, in which Trent was basically comparing Tua's ability to throw the football to guys like Dan Marino and Aaron Rodgers. Now, he sort of clarified those comments, Trent did over the weekend. But the point remains, people are talking about this guy like he throws it on a different level from even the good throwers we generally see. Marcus, is that right? Does he throw the ball just flat out better than most of the really good throwers we've seen come in recently?
Gee, I agree, man. When you look at the ball leave his hand, I'll never forget Greg McElroy and I were at Alabama's practice when Jalen Hurts was the starter. We were at the spring practice, and everybody kept telling us about this kid, Tua. You got to see Tua play. All of the coaches were gushing about him. The first pass we saw him throw, G, we said, okay, that's different than anybody we've seen in the SEC since we started at SEC Network, and that had been 4 years in. So when you think about some of the throws that he made, there's an out route he throws for a touchdown, I think, to Jerry Jeudy against LSU from the left side of the field across his body to the right, pinpoint accuracy. Listen, it is a different ball when it comes out of his hand. I don't care what anybody says. There are guys that can throw the football. There are guys that can put velocity on the football. And I don't know if it's because he's a lefty, because some of the prolific throws that he's made, but when Tua throws the ball, it comes out of his hand different than most guys you see throw a football.
Better, Danny, just a better thrower?
He's not a better thrower than Dan Marino. And Aaron Rodgers, it's hard for me to put Tua into that conversation. Listen, he's a fantastic thrower of the football, but I'm not putting him up there with Marino or Aaron Rodgers. Right now, I will say this, Greeny. Find me teams in the NFL over the last decade that became great by being safe. You know, if you think about it, like the Kansas City Chiefs became great because they took a chance and went up to draft Patrick Mahomes when they didn't have to. They were a playoff team with Alex Smith. The Ravens drafted a quarterback who couldn't fit in the NFL in the Baltimore Ravens. Years ago, the Saints went onside kick at halftime in the Super Bowl. Like, teams are, yes, you're going to have to take a chance on Tua, but you're never going to be great unless you do that in the NFL.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.